Good morning. Thank you very much for that lovely welcome. And it's a pleasure to be actually standing here today and seeing so many friends face to face. It's so good to see you. And we had such a wonderful, warm welcome from Uncle Madam, but may I also please do the same. In the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. I pay my respects to elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. I would also like to extend greetings from Germany. Jens Gonnemann, and I'm going to try and use that, there we go. Jens Gonnemann is the Managing Director of the Advanced Manufacturing Growth Centre, and I'm sure many of you know Jens. He was in Germany last week, attending the world's largest industrial and technology show called Hannover Messe, and it was very exciting. Jens landed back in Australia just a short time ago and contracted COVID somewhere along the way, so I'm stepping in for Jens, and he sends his apologies. He was very excited to share with you what he had seen over in Germany. At the same time, he was accompanied by our chairman here as well, and he also brought back the same souvenirs. So there we go. But certainly they've got a lot of stories from the road on how manufacturing is transforming, and that is what I'd like to share with you today on Jens's behalf. So first of all, there are three ways that we think manufacturing is transforming. First is manufacturing is a capability. We believe fundamentally that it is something that we are very good at as a capability. It is not a sector. Medtech is a sector, mining is a sector, food and agri is a sector. You can measure those through the Australian Bureau of Statistics. It's very clear as a vertical. Manufacturing cuts across that. It's a horizontal. Everywhere that something is being made is manufacturing. It is a capability. Not only do we need to make things more in Australia, we need to make more complex things in Australia, and I will get to that. And the pathway to get us there is we need more capital and we need the skills that we've been talking about already, and it's very exciting to see what's happening out in Western Sydney. So as I mentioned, manufacturing is a capability. And with your permission, I would just like to show a 1-minute video, just very briefly, about what we've experienced over the last few years and the way that the manufacturing community in Australia has stepped up to help us through these challenging times. Some of the images are confronting, it's sensitive data, so if we can play it, or I hit click and take you through that. So I think we have exhausted pretty much every superlative that we could find to describe the tragic events over the last 4 to 5 years, and it's incredible that we can be here today. But also what's equally incredible is how the manufacturing community, as I've said, has stood up and shown us what can be achieved when we work together for a common cause. And I thought what we could do is use manufacturing and some of the products that are being manufactured in Australia on how we can address these issues and what has been done. So first of all, let's think about the fires, and undoubtedly there'll be more to come. The two gentlemen in the white t-shirt form a company called Spiral Blue. They're just down the street in Surrey Hills, and they're based at the Wolfpack Space Hub. It's a new incubator based just outside of the centre of Sydney here for our international visitors. And what they have created here is this microprocessor. This microprocessor is now attached to satellites that are orbiting the Earth. But what makes this particular solution from Spiral Blue so special is that it can measure through particular kind of light penetration, and I'll get this right, hyperspectral imaging capability, which allows us to better understand vegetation and terrain. So as the satellites orbit the Earth, they collect up all the information that they've been asked to collect, and once they reach the receiving station, be it in Sydney here, they download specific information relative to the information that is being gathered. Now this is incredible for defence and other industries, but imagine what it could do for bushfires, particularly as it can look for burns and what could potentially happen in the future. The gentleman in the middle, also located at Wolfpack, he's created a company called Dandelion. And you can see the model here. Basically, it's a drone-like system that has blades that fan out. And what you're able to do here is you can drop it from, say, example, a helicopter over a fire where there is a lot of smoke, you can't see anything. This is deployed to the ground and you can set up communications immediately. So then it can help for the rapid rescue and ground efforts where infrastructure has been damaged. And we saw that in the recent fires that the communication towers were taken out. This is a solution that can help us get there. The pandemic. I thought this would be a very interesting comment to start with. This is a quotation, punchline. This is the quotation that was given in an interview by the head of Draeger Invasive Ventilators out of Europe. He was called by Mercedes-Benz during the peak of the crisis, asking if there's anything that Mercedes-Benz could do to help. And the CEO of Draeger said, "There is very little point in adapting unused production capacity to manufacture respiratory aids. I spoke with Daimler over the weekend. They would also like to help, but it's unfortunately not so simple. And we at Draeger, we can't build cars either. It's simply mission impossible." And as you saw, we did it. We did it in Australia. And this is a model of what we did. And when I say we, I should give full credit to Grey Innovation. Grey Innovation is a manufacturer based in Victoria, and they gathered together over 30 different manufacturers across Australia who had pretty much never worked together, but came together with their capability and applied it together and built 1,700 invasive ventilators in less than 8 weeks. This is made up of 99% Australian content. This is an invasive ventilator that we have now in the national stockpile. Unfortunately, a lot of our Pacific nations needed quite a few of these, so we were able to export them and help them out as well. But this goes to show what we are capable of achieving. Let's get to the mice, unfortunately. That was terrible. Hopefully you've seen this company around. This is a company called Formflow. They're based out of Victoria, and their IP is quite unique. What they're able to do is bend corrugated steel at 90 degrees without any breaking of the surface area, and able to keep its integrity. So the implications are incredible, and the opportunities for this product are immense. So, of course, from rodent-proofing buildings, but also to addressing challenges with fire and also with water inundation, as it is impervious to water. It's also adding value, which we will talk about. It's adding value to a raw material of steel, and there is less waste, which is why one of Australia's largest manufacturers, BlueScope Steel, is now heavily investing in Formflow and taking this technology global. Energy costs. Well, we're all feeling it at the moment, and I think we all can agree that there's not one silver bullet regarding energy costs, and there are many good minds working on it at the moment. This is a company called Energy Renaissance. Hopefully you've all heard of Energy Renaissance in the press recently. They've just broke ground on a new gigafactory up in Tomago, and they also have range in the next couple of years to launch a gigafactory 5 times the size. This is helping us get to net zero and meet our energy crisis challenges, and it's incredible the technology that Energy Renaissance is bringing to the market right now. So manufacturing can solve many problems, and these are more illustrations of Amgc projects that we have invested in. So for example, we've got the world's first hydrogen generator with Larvo. We have the first electrolyzer with NedStack, and these two products work together. This incredible technology here from Veriton, this allows companies with wind turbines to perform maintenance out in the rough seas. So this crane is actually stabilised on a rig in rough waters doing maintenance on one of those blades. It's simply almost impossible, and yet it's Australian ingenuity doing this overseas with wind turbines. Seabin, hopefully you follow Seabin on Instagram. They're doing a great job. Essentially, this collects all the ocean's waste. Not only do they suck in all the plastics and other debris, but they can also analyse it and look for provenance. Isn't that powerful information as to where the waste is coming from? And they're currently making a huge splash, pardon the pun, in California. The California government has just deployed Seabin all along their coastlines, and they're doing amazing work. In addition, Amgc is leading a piece of work on prefabricated homes. This is a new market where we can build off-site for ready deployment, for example, into bushfire or flooded stricken areas, so we can get accommodation up and running. Prefabrication is certainly the way of the future, and we are leading that project with pride. So it would be remiss of me if I didn't bring in the smiley curve, as it is colloquially known. Look, we believe that the reason this is so important is that this is the secret sauce on how you can build capability in manufacturing. All those companies that I have shown have invested in each one of these 7 steps. R&D, investing in R&D, getting a good percentage of your revenue into research and development, into the design factor, what it looks like, how it works, how will it perform, what does the customer need, into logistics, how does that supply chain work, where can we tap into each other's resources in Australia, into intelligent production, through to the distribution channels, how do we export? As Minister Eyre said, it's one thing to have 7 million customers in Australia. Let's go after that 7 billion overseas. We have Made in Australia Week this week. I want the world to buy Australia made. That's what's most important. Getting into the sales and marketing of your product, and then into the services. Successful companies, successful manufacturers do all 7 steps of this smiley curve. And if we do it right, this part here where we collect information and we service our customers then forms back into the R&D. It closes the smile into a circle. That is how we build capability in Australia. The second point is around making complex things. And so it's not just what we make, but it's how we make it. And that's what we believe at Amgc. Being an advanced manufacturer, as Harley said, can be overwhelming. People use these terms and you don't really know where to start. We did a whole piece of literature on advanced manufacturing and what does it mean. And fundamentally, it comes down to one sentence. It's not what you make, it's how you make it. And that complexity angle is absolutely critical. So what is complexity? Complexity is, how we use it, is a set of metrics that are used by the Harvard Business School and MIT. And basically they measure products that are made by a country and exported compared to their peers. So it's a picture of our GDP. So it's products that we make and that are exported overseas. And they look at the web of knowledge that is used to create that particular product. What does it take to actually make it? So a ventilator. Every point and piece in this ventilator, every component requires particular knowledge and know-how for it to be assembled versus, for example, a lump of coal. There's a lot of complexity and know-how and knowledge in a ventilator and very little know-how and technology in a piece of coal. Now, there's a lot of technology and services surrounding and how we extract that and put it onto trains with autonomous drivers, but that particular product that we export is not particularly complex. The higher the line is the higher the complexity of where that country sits, and therefore more resilient and more prosperous as a nation. So where does Australia sit? And I think maybe some of you are familiar with this number. We sit at number 86. We sit at number 86 and we are declining. We've been declining over 30 years. We used to be 55 and now we're between our neighbours of Paraguay, did I get that right? Paraguay and Uzbekistan. Now, if we were to rate 86 in another global ranking of, say, sports at the Olympics, I would hate to think the furore in the papers, but we rank 86 in terms of what we export as a country. We do a lot of exports, we do very well, but it's not complex, it's not enough. We need to do better. Let's have a look at the picture and what I mean by that. So on the left-hand side there, you see what Germany exports. Germany used to have a lot of raw commodities until they ran out. They're a huge manufacturing nation. They're a powerhouse on the global scale. They do ICT, they do cars, they do technologies, they do medical devices, but not much in the raw materials. They don't have many anymore. That's the brown area. Let's look at Australia. We export our travel and tourism, fabulous place to visit, absolutely. And then this is large brown area. That's what we export. That's the lump of coal, but also some amazing, amazing natural resources that we can add value to onshore, which we must do. The first time we actually start to add complexity, where we actually start to add value, is in our agricultural sector, and the first item on the list is wine. That's where we actually take a raw material and add value to it and then send it offshore. That's the first tick in the box. Over there, there's room to grow. I thought this might be another interesting version that you can see. It's over time, and here it's again our share of exports. I thought this might be interesting just so you can see over the last 30 odd years the volatility in the market as well and the cycles around that. So very little value add, very little complexity, but a lot of opportunity to add back value before it leaves our shores. And this takes us to my final point. It's about how do we add that complexity to the capability that we know we have when a crisis calls. Capital and skills, investment. Frankly, we need better investment. We need deeper pools of capital available in Australia for our manufacturers, for you, to do the investments across that smiley curve that you need to do, and then you need the people to actually do the jobs to get you there. These are the two ingredients that we believe help transform us from being a lucky country to a smart country. So I'd like to talk about capital from a personal standpoint, what we do at Amgc. We have been running for just over 6 years now, and the team is downstairs. We're all here this week, very proud to be participating and also sponsoring the activities down on the show floor. In 6 years, we have invested just around $57.5 million in manufacturing. All those projects that I have just gone through are Amgc projects. $57.5 million is so humble. It's a small amount, but gosh, have we packed a punch with that money, because we invest smartly and we invest strategically. And each one of those projects is supported every step along the way. Our 140 projects have taken companies from TRL level, technology readiness level, at the very early stages of prototypes and proof of concepts, around the 2 to 3, up to full commercialisation, which is TRL 8 and 9 and ready for export. And you can see the evidence here. Of the 140 projects, we expect to create 4,000 new jobs in manufacturing in Australia. 162 billion in export revenue, and the money in the middle there, 135 million in total, is our 57.5 million matched by you, dollar for dollar by industry. Every dollar that has come from a federal fund or from the Northern Territory Fund, which we're managing, is matched dollar for dollar by industry. You want to invest. You just need the early capital to get that capital confidence from the market to take you to the next step. We want this type of capital to continue, and we want to do more of this. This is a bit of a sneak peek into some research that is underway at the moment. I have 3 slides that I'm allowed to share. Our Director of Research, Katie O'Connell, is currently in the market looking at workforce. There's a problem here in Australia, and she is deciphering what the issues are and what we can do to solve them. I apologise, this is a bit blurry here because it's a snapshot of her slides that I was only allowed to take, so bear with me. Again, coming back to the smiley curve, what you can see here is that the majority of jobs now in Australian manufacturing is on either side of the smiley curve. This is the first time we have this data. We did this analysis 6 years ago when we first started at Amgc, and it was 55% in the centre here, and the other two sides were slowly coming up. And the pendulum has shifted. We've turned the dial. We are now focusing on where we can add greater value. Greater value is added on either side because we know that production, it can also lift with the smarts that we have, but we add greater value through the complexity on either side of the smiley curve. So it's very heartening to see, and you can see how each job is now creating the growth in different areas. There's a challenge now. How do we get people to fill these roles, and how do we get them to stay? Here's one way. Inclusion of women. So this afternoon there's a women's networking function, so I hope I see many of you down there. But the women that are featured here on this slide was put together by our exceptional Head of Communications, Tyson Bowen. Each one of these women take care of one of the steps of the smiley curve, and they're inspiring other women to join, and students and other underrepresented people in the manufacturing workforce. We need to do better here. This is how we raise our capability and complexity, through our diversity. And this is the final slide on skills and workforce. This is one of my favourites. It's a bit messy, but it tells a couple of stories. And this is the secret sauce to how we build capability and complexity. This is a company I've de-identified. At first, when you have a small company, as we all know, you wear multiple hats and you juggle a lot of jobs. You tend to outsource the areas that you don't have the direct expertise in. And that's why manufacturing today employs 1.3 million people directly in this area and indirectly. That makes up 10% of the Australian workforce in manufacturing today. As a manufacturer scales, they get some investment, they continue to grow their revenue, they bring those outsourced jobs back in-house. First of all, it's more affordable to do so, but also then you're starting to build inherent value into your business and the products you create. What this company has done is that they've grown over time, and now they have a few outsourced areas, but most of it is in-house here, and this is how they're adding value. Bit of a run through, but today's event here in the New South Wales government, and I thank you for the invitation, is, I believe the theme is Let's Make It Happen. And I would like to offer a little bit of a riff, and let's say, let's make lucky to smart happen. We can do this with Australian manufacturing. We have the capability to make more complex things. We've seen that. We can be better, not cheaper. That is why people buy Australian, is because we have the reputation of being flexible but highly reputable in the quality of the products that we make and export. And we can add value onshore. Let's look at that brown area with those critical minerals. A lot of them are rare earths. Let's do that value-added work onshore and get that complexity level up high. We need, and I think I speak on behalf of all the manufacturers here today, but we need smart capital. We need those deep pools of investment from banks, from government, from investors to help get that capital confidence into manufacturers to take that first step. We need to invest in our skills across the smiley curve, across the broader industry, and I really applaud what's been announced this morning, because I think that's a very clever way to start. And we need long-term policy thinking and joined-up thinking, and I can see a lot of nods in the audience, and we're very excited to see what the future may bring. But let's not leave it to our politicians. Let's not leave our fate to those in office. Let's create our own destiny, work together, create complex things, because we can do that. And I look forward to working with you all and in getting that achieved. So, bit of a plug. Please join Amgc. Our membership is free. You can connect in with a wonderful network of 4,000 members across Australia. A lot of the universities are there as well. We have Michael Sharp at the back of the room. Everyone knows Sharpie. He basically is our connector, and he has successfully joined so many manufacturing business together, putting people in touch based on their capability needs. And with the joined up thinking, I think there's a lot more that we can achieve in doing some of that complexity work. So thank you. Please visit our website. All the literature will be up there for you to download, and I look forward to seeing you for the rest of the conference.